One moment of silence, and the world will never see you the same again. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to change the atmosphere just by walking into a room? No grand gestures, no loud voices, yet suddenly conversations pause, heads turn, and attention gravitates toward them as if pulled by some invisible force. And then, there are others, those who try their best to be seen, to be heard, to matter. But despite their efforts, they remain invisible, like whispers in a hurricane, forgotten before they even finish their sentence. Why does this happen? You might think it's charisma, confidence, some secret formula for presence that only the lucky ones are born with. But what if I told you it's none of that? What if the difference lies in something so subtle, so deceptively simple? You've overlooked it your entire life. Modern life has made us chase visibility through noise. Talk louder, move faster, say more. But in a world drowning in sound, true power lies in silence. And this silence isn't weakness, it's precision, it's depth, it's psychological gravity. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And fate, for many, is to remain unnoticed, not because they lack value, but because they never learned how to radiate it. So today, we uncover a weapon hidden in plain sight. Not another trick, not another performance, but a shift in presence, one decision, one pause, one moment that once practiced will change forever how the world reacts to you. Are you ready to stop fading into the noise and start commanding it? The room divides before a word is spoken. Picture this: two people walk into the same room. The first enters quickly, shoulders slightly hunched, eyes darting for a place to belong. They smile a bit too eagerly, offer a handshake a bit too fast, and speak just a touch too much. They are kind, polite, and agreeable, and yet no one remembers them when they leave. Not because they said something wrong, but because they didn't command anything. Their presence dissolved into the room like sugar in hot tea, absorbed, then forgotten. Then comes the second. They step in slowly, deliberately. Their posture is calm, unhurried, and grounded. They scan the room not out of insecurity, but with quiet awareness. They don't speak first, they observe. They take up space without needing to prove they belong. And somehow, the air changes. Conversations soften, heads turn. People lean in slightly, not with fear, but curiosity. Who is that? What makes the difference? This isn't about looks, fame, wealth, or charm. It's about something more primal, something psychological. You feel it before you even register it. And Carl Jung understood exactly why. He called it the persona, the social mask we wear to be accepted. From childhood, we're conditioned to perform. Be nice, be agreeable, don't disturb. We mold ourselves into what others expect: the good student, the helpful colleague, the supportive partner. And at first, the persona protects us. It allows us to function in society. But here's the danger. The more we live through this mask, the more disconnected we become from our true essence. Over time, we forget there was ever anything behind it. Jung warned, the persona is only a mask. It is dangerous when people mistake it for the self. And then there is the shadow. Everything we repress, hide, or fear within ourselves. Our anger, ambition, sexual energy, even our brilliance, tucked away because someone, somewhere, told us it was too much, unacceptable, wrong. But what we bury doesn't disappear. It festers. And worse, it leaks out in distorted ways. Ever notice how people-pleasing can turn into bitterness? Or how excessive kindness can become manipulation? That's shadow energy, unacknowledged and uncontrolled. The second person in our story, the one who changes the room, is different. They may not be more talented, but they are more integrated. They've met their shadow. They've acknowledged their persona, but they no longer live in it. They don't need to impress because they're rooted in something deeper, their true self. When you encounter someone like this, you feel it. You don't know why, but you trust them or fear them. Not because of what they say, but because of what they don't say. They carry weight, not noise. They are present, not performative. And this presence changes everything. In social psychology, we call this status signaling, but it goes beyond confidence. It's not bravado, it's containment, self-possession. They don't need the room needs them. Why? Because our brains are wired to respond to certainty. In uncertain situations, like meeting someone new, we scan for cues of safety or threat. Fast talk, fidgeting, over-explaining, that signals anxiety, weakness, a need for approval. But silence, deliberate movement, that signals dominance, authority, an internal steadiness that makes others instinctively recalibrate. Jung would say, this is the difference between someone being ruled by their unconscious and someone who has made the unconscious conscious. The integrated self radiates calm, power, wholeness, and others can feel it, even if they can't explain it. It's not mystical, it's archetypal. Our ancestors sensed it around tribal leaders. We feel it in the courtroom, the boardroom, the bedroom. In every room, power is negotiated silently before a single word is spoken. And those who carry unified energy, who are not at war with themselves, speak to something ancient inside us. That's why some people fade into the background, no matter how hard they try to be nice. Because niceness without integration is weightless. It's just persona. And others, who may say very little, draw the attention of the entire room, because they bring their shadow with them, not as a weapon, but as a presence, as depth, as gravity. This is not about being intimidating. It's about being real, grounded, awake. If you've ever felt ignored, overlooked, or underestimated, it's not necessarily because you weren't enough. It may be because you were showing up as only a fraction of who you are. The part of you that's been trained to be acceptable, not the whole you, not the parts that hold power. But there is a way back, and it begins not with speaking louder, but with pausing, holding your center. Allow yourself to be fully seen. Not just the pleasant mask, but the truth beneath it. Because in that space, before words, before approval, before performance, you are already enough, and the world will feel it. The unconscious commands until you command it. Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Most people read that sentence and nod. Fewer understand what it truly means, and almost none dare to live it. Because to make the unconscious conscious is to shine a light into the deepest corners of your psyche. Not just the parts you're proud of, but the ones you hide, even from yourself. The fear, the rage, the insecurity, the need to be liked, the desperate chase for approval is wrapped in politeness. The truth is, if you haven't met your unconscious, it's already running your life. That feeling of being dismissed in a conversation, of shrinking when you should speak, of giving too much, too soon, too often, that isn't just personality, it's programming. It's a script written long ago by parents, teachers, society, and trauma. And until you pause, reflect, and rewrite it, that script continues. Silently, invisibly, unquestioned. This is why the power of pause is not a cheap trick. It's not just a social hack to look confident. It's an inner revolution. Because silence is not the absence of sound, it is the presence of self. It's a declaration that you no longer act out of compulsion, but from conscious choice. Friedrich Nietzsche said, "You must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star." What did he mean by chaos? He meant the raw, uncomfortable truth that lies beneath your persona. The mess of being human. The contradictions, the urges, the pain, the longing for meaning. To ignore this chaos is to live a shallow life, a life of noise, but no resonance, a life of movement, but no direction. And yet most people run from this chaos. They rush to fill the silence because they are terrified of what will emerge if they stop speaking. They joke to hide their discomfort. They fidget to escape the stillness. They seek attention because their own presence isn't enough. not to themselves, not yet. But the dancing star, that radiant, magnetic presence that captivates a room, only emerges after you've walked through that chaos. After you've made peace with the parts of yourself you were taught to reject. After you've sat in silence and let the discomfort pass through you, rather than trying to bury it under smiles or words. Think about the most powerful people you know. Not the loudest, not the richest, but the most commanding. What do they have in common? They don't rush. They don't over-explain. They don't seek validation. Why? Because they have already faced themselves. And in doing so, they no longer need others to define them. That's why when they speak slowly, people listen. When they pause, people wait. Because their silence is not empty, it's anchored. It comes from a place of knowing, of wholeness. And in a world where most people are fragmented, that kind of presence is rare. And what's rare is respected. Jung didn't just invent psychological terms. He was trying to give language to something ancient, something spiritual. The human soul, lost in modernity, is trying to find its way back to authenticity. He believed that suffering, yes, the very pain we try so hard to avoid, wasn't a mistake. It was a signal, a call, a summons from the unconscious, asking to be heard. And what does the unconscious ask for? Integration, wholeness, the unification of light and shadow, masculine and feminine, strength and vulnerability, speech and silence, the person you pretend to be and the one you truly are. This is where silence becomes a spiritual act, a psychological threshold, a return to the center. In your next conversation, when you pause before speaking, don't just think of it as a tactic. Think of it as a moment of sovereignty, a small rebellion against the automatic programming that once ruled you, a signal to your nervous system. I'm not here to perform, I'm here to be. Because when you no longer chase approval, you radiate authority. When you no longer speak to fill space, your presence fills it. And when you can sit in your own silence, comfortable, rooted, complete, the room changes, not because you demanded it, but because the unconscious within others recognizes power when it sees it, and power, true power, always moves slowly. The power of pause, turning silence into authority. We live in a world obsessed with speed. Say it faster, respond quicker, fill the space, don't let things get awkward. But what if I told you the most powerful move in any conversation is not what you say, but what you don't? It's the pause. No hesitation, not fear, but a deliberate, controlled stillness, a silence charged with presence. You see, when you pause, when you take a breath, hold eye contact, and resist the impulse to speak too soon, you do something that most people never realize. You take control of the room's nervous system. Why? Because silence makes people uncomfortable. It disrupts the rhythm they expect. And in that disruption, you create space, a psychological gap where power begins to shift. In that moment, something subtle yet profound happens. The other person begins to wait for you. They lean in. They adjust their energy to yours. And most importantly, they start to perceive you differently. They no longer see someone who needs to be heard. They see someone who chooses when to speak. And that, in itself, is power. This is not manipulation, it's mastery. Carl Jung called this the beginning of individuation, when the self becomes integrated enough to no longer react, but to respond consciously. The pause is the gateway to this awareness. It is the antithesis of impulsivity. It's what separates leaders from followers, presence from performance. Think about your last interaction. Did you speak just to fill the silence? Did you rush to answer, fearing they'd lose interest? Did your words come from reflex or intention? Now imagine this. Someone asks you a question. Instead of answering immediately, you pause. You don't fidget. You don't look away. You hold the silence. You hold eye contact. You breathe. And then, when the moment feels right, you speak slowly, clearly, without apology. Do you feel that shift, that tension? That's not awkwardness. That's a command. Because the human brain is hardwired to assign value to what is rare, what is calm, and what is in control. Most people talk fast because they subconsciously fear rejection. They seek approval not through content, but through speed. But fast talkers are often dismissed. Why? Because they signal insecurity, nervous energy, and lack of containment, the very opposite of authority. On the other hand, slow, measured speech, especially when preceded by a pause, signals self-trust. It tells the world, I am enough. I do not chase your validation. I am not afraid of silence because I am not afraid of myself. This subtle shift in behavior, just 2 seconds of intentional pause, can completely reframe how others perceive you. It doesn't matter whether you're speaking to a friend, a boss, a client, or a stranger. What matters is how rooted you are in yourself before the words ever leave your mouth. Pausing is the ultimate display of self-possession. You are no longer reacting. You are no longer scrambling to be understood. You are asserting, without force, that you are the anchor in the room. And here's the beauty. When you stop rushing to be heard, people start listening. In leadership training, this is called temporal control. The person who sets the tempo of the interaction usually sets the tone of the relationship. When you pause, you reset the tempo. You tell the nervous systems around you, we move at my pace, and the world adjusts. This is why the most powerful people, CEOs, politicians, spiritual teachers, therapists, speak slowly. They let silence stretch. They don't fear gaps between words. In fact, they use those gaps to amplify what comes next. Every pause is a drumroll. Every silence becomes a stage. Because in a culture that rewards speed, those who move deliberately are perceived as rare. And what's rare is precious. So, how do you apply this? Practice this today. Next time someone asks you something, anything, pause before answering. Just 2 seconds. Feel the tension rise. Feel your body resisting the urge to speak. Let it rise. Let it pass. Then speak slowly, deliberately, from your center, and watch what happens. Watch their eyes focus. Watch their body lean in. Watch their energy begin to orbit yours. This is not about dominating others. This is about no longer being dominated by your own impulses. It's about reclaiming the moment, and in doing so, reclaiming your power. The pause is not a trick. It's a mirror. It shows you and others who is really in control. And once you feel it, once you see the way people begin to respond differently, practice the pause and watch the shift begin. Now it's your turn. This is not just theory, not just philosophy. It's a practice, one that begins in the smallest, most ordinary moments. So here's what I want you to do. The next time someone asks you a question, any question do. Don't answer right away. Don't scramble for the right response. Don't rush to please. Don't try to be clever. Just stop. Let there be silence. Count 2 seconds in your mind. Hold your gaze. Let the air between you remain untouched. Let the other person feel that something is happening, something they can't quite name. Then, when the silence has done its work, speak. Not to fill the space, but to shape it. Speak slowly, deliberately, as if every word you say matters, because it does. You will feel the shift instantly. It's not just how others respond to you, it's how you begin to feel in your own skin. The rush fades, the anxiety dissolves, and something new takes its place. Authority. Not dominance, not arrogance, just quiet, grounded certainty. It's powerful, and it's addictive, in the best way, because for the first time, perhaps in a long time, we're not speaking to survive. You're speaking from choice, from the center, from clarity. And when you do, your words will land differently. They will feel heavier, not because they are louder, but because they come from a deeper place. People will listen more. They'll interrupt you less. They'll lean in, not because you demanded attention, but because you stopped chasing it. That's the paradox of presence. The less you try to prove yourself, the more others begin to see your value. Try it with a friend. Try it with a stranger. Try it at work. Try it at the dinner table. It doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't need to change your whole personality overnight. All it takes is one pause, one moment of grounded silence. And that one moment begins to rewire how you relate to yourself and how the world relates to you. But here's the key: consistency. Do it once and you'll feel the shift. Do it daily and it will become who you are. Over time, you'll notice something else. The people around you will begin to treat you with more respect. They may not be able to explain why. They may even feel a little uncomfortable at first. But the energy has changed, and energy never lies. This is the beginning of what Jung called individuation. You are no longer fragmented. You are no longer a bundle of impulses and reactions. You are someone who chooses when and how to show up. That choice radiates through your posture, your tone, and your timing. You become magnetic, not because you chase, but because you pull. This is not ego. This is not performance. This is a return to what was always there, beneath the noise, beneath the fear, beneath the need. Your presence. So again, the next time someone speaks to you, pause. Let the silence carry your weight. Let your gaze be still. Let your response come from the quiet part of you, not the reactive part. And watch what happens. You may notice a slight shift in their breath, a widening of their eyes, a lean forward, a flicker of curiosity. That's not just an interest, that's respect. They feel something they didn't expect. That you are not like the others. That you don't play the usual games. That you are not afraid of space or silence or self. You are rooted. You are clear. You are in control. Not of them, but of yourself. And that's all it takes. One pause, one moment of unshakable stillness, and the entire room begins to move around you. Silence is strength. Stillness is power. You now stand at a crossroads. You can go back to how you've always been, speaking quickly to be understood, filling silence out of fear, rushing through conversations as if your worth depended on being heard. You can keep chasing attention, trying to impress, hoping someone finally sees you. Or you can do the opposite. You can stop. You can pause. You can breathe. And in that stillness, you can begin to command. Because the truth is, those who speak the most are often heard the least, and those who carry true strength rarely need to raise their voice. Power doesn't come from noise. It comes from depth, from alignment, from being so rooted in who you are that the world doesn't need to be told. It feels you. There's a reason the most unforgettable people in your life weren't the loudest. They were the ones who made you feel something when they entered the room. Long before they ever said a word. It wasn't magic. It wasn't charisma. It was present. And presence is earned. Not by performance, but by practice. The practice of restraint. The practice of awareness. The practice of conscious stillness in a world addicted to motion. Carl Jung believed that modern people suffer not from a lack of answers, but from a lack of wholeness. Most of us are split between who we are and who we pretend to be, between our truth and our mask, between the moment we're in and the future we fear. But every time you pause, every time you choose silence over reaction, you begin to close that gap. You return home. And in doing so, something ancient awakens in you. The quiet dignity of someone who no longer begs to be heard, because they've finally learned to listen to themselves. This is the invitation, to become less reactive, to speak less, but mean more, to stop seeking validation and start embodying presence. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more anchored people. People who have faced their chaos and made peace with it. People who are not swayed by every glance, every comment, every interruption. People who can stand in the fire of silence and not flinch. You have that in you. It's not a skill you're missing. It's a part of you that's been waiting for you to get tired of being overlooked, tired of being dismissed, tired of trying so hard. And now you're here. So what happens next is up to you. You can leave this as another inspiring idea, something to nod at and forget. Or you can let it reshape you. The next time someone speaks to you, pause. The next time your impulse tells you to fill the gap, resist. The next time you want to prove your worth, remember, your silence already says enough. Because the person who doesn't need to speak to be heard, the one who doesn't need to convince to be respected, the one who doesn't need to chase to be remembered, that person radiates something no words can explain. That person is rare, and what's rare becomes revered. So ask yourself this: do I want to be loud, or do I want to be felt? If the answer is the latter, then welcome to a different kind of power. One not based in performance, but in presence. One not built on approval, but on inner authority. One that makes people listen before you speak, and remember you long after you've left the room. It begins now, in your next conversation, in your next meeting, in your next pause. Feel the weight of that silence, not as a void, but as a force, a signal, a declaration. I am here, and I don't need to prove it, because I feel it, and now you will too. If this message stirred something in you, if even for a moment you felt the power of stillness and the truth in your silence, then this journey is just beginning. Hit that like button if you're ready to stop chasing and start commanding. Subscribe to the channel so you never miss another awakening, a deeper look into the mind, the soul, and the silent forces that shape who we are. And in the comments below, tell me, what insight hit you the hardest? Which moment made you pause and see yourself differently? Let's make this more than just a video. Let's make it a conversation, a community of those who no longer wish to fade into the noise, but rise, silently, powerfully above it.